The New Day are banned from the WWE locker room. Mass wrestler departures over at TNA. And what free agent who just left AEW that's associated with the number 0 could WWE possibly be teasing with a new graphic? It's Penta. It's most definitely Penta. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Get exclusive bonus videos over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. TNA ran its last pay-per-view of the year last Friday the 13th called Final Resolution, but it turns out resolutions weren't the only things that were final. It also saw a number of talent finish up with the promotion. Firstly was ECW original Rhino, who posted on his Facebook page, "Tomorrow is my last day with TNA Wrestling. I'm wrestling Ryan Nemeth. It will most likely be the last time ever I will wrestle in a TNA ring. If you can make it to center stage in Atlanta, come and be a part of this 5-year chapter of my life and our journey. Thank you to all of the amazing wrestling fans for your support. I'm not done wrestling, but TNA and I have parted ways." Rhino returned to TNA for his second run back in 2019 and was inducted into their Hall of Fame back in October. Rhino did make a cameo on the ECW-themed episode of NXT last month, where he gored Robert Stone, so perhaps he could be on his way to work for WWE. BW Insider then reported that the promotion's ring announcer Jade Chung will also be leaving after not signing a new deal. Her current contract is set to expire at the end of this year, and she apparently turned down a new offer. This has increased speculation around her real-life husband, the former TNA World Champion Josh Alexander, whose contract is set to expire in February. With Chung leaving now, it could foreshadow Alexander also departing early next year, with there's speculation he could join his former North tag team partner Ethan Page in WWE. PW Insider then added that former NXT star Trent Seven has also exited TNA, along with other former NXT star Kushida. Kushida's deal with TNA was an interesting one, as he was signed to a dual contract with both them and New Japan last December. The idea was for the smaller promotions to band together to compete with the bigger money contracts WWE or AEW could offer. But Kushida's was the only contract that was ever agreed with that idea, as TNA's head booker Scott D'Amore leaving back in January scuppered any more of those plans. F4W Online have reported some of the departures have to do with people asked to take pay cuts, but that may not be the case for all of them. But it's not just individual wrestlers that are leaving TNA, it's whole promotions. As F4W Online add, it appears formal relations with TNA and New Japan may also be done. Relations were said to have cooled when D'Amore was gone, but since both are on the same channel, one owned by TNA's parent company, there are political reasons for a relationship for both sides. Mike Bailey and the company's top female star, Jordan Grace, are also expected to leave when their contracts expire soon. So TNA made the very TNA decision to controversially bring back Tessa Blanchard at their Final Resolution show, who hasn't really been seen in North American wrestling since January 2020, just before the pandemic, when multiple people accused her of bullying and racism, accusations that she denies. Fightful has reported that while some in TNA have remained friends with her, others warned the company of bringing her back, and Jordan Grace specifically pushed back on working with her. The second episode of Mustache Night War of Me vs. Luke in WWE 2K24's My GM mode is available to watch exclusively on Patreon right now. And it's getting rave reviews, like this comment from Patreon Gordon Fallon. Ollie comes off as a great ineffective villain. You almost root for Ollie, because how comic bookish incompetent he is. Almost. Just gonna cancel your Patreon membership, Gordon? Yep, okay, that's done. Everyone else, you can watch it instead and enjoy me as a genuine threat. Here's a clip. Why can't I just... Okay, I'm going to clear this match. Remember who's in there. AJ's going to be in there. Just don't look at me. Fatal 4-way, normal. Bobby it. God damn it, I've got to clear both of them. Yeah, Bobby. AJ. This guy. Who was the other? Who? Kit. My brain's gone. My brain's absolutely gone. Can you not look at me, please? Dante. Is it Dante? Dante's in there. Tyler. And this one will be Gunther. No, what are you doing? Normal, Ricochet, and Elia. Huh?
Are you done?
Done.
Oh, hey, that was on the buzzer right there. You're right. What happened?
I think I'm okay. Now it's time for my review of Mustache Night Raw in about 5 minutes. The episode opened with CM Punk coming out for an in-ring promo to a big Boston, Canada reception. He said he's in a bad mood. So, normal day of the week for CM Punk, because whenever he starts to cut a promo, Seth's crappy music will hit, he'll walk out on his tiptoes and do his annoying laugh. That's my voice of the voiceless. Seth Rollins' presentation is incredibly lame. Rollins came out through the crowd, dressed almost normally though, and he cut a good promo too, dropping his gimmicky inflections, wisely grounding this feud more in realism. He said, even from there, in the stands, he can see Punk's an asshole. Seth built this place on his back when Punk left, and he'll have more WrestleMania main events than Phil ever will. He said Punk's actual name, that's when you know it's real. They had an extended brawling segment that was kind of structured like the Family Guy chicken fight joke. Pretty good at first, then got a bit boring in the middle, but then really picked up by the end as they both sprinted at each other in the crowd for one final brawl. Seth was seen arguing with Adam Pearce backstage afterwards when Drew McIntyre walked into shots like he's Scottish Nick Fury, recruiting for WWE's latest initiative, Sword. He said he doesn't like CM Punk or Roman Reigns either. They should work together. Seth said Jey Uso and Sami Zayn are still his friends, but the jury's still out on Drew, meaning he didn't totally turn McIntyre down. Pearce later announced that it'll be Punk vs Seth for Raw's Netflix debut episode. And then it cut to a great shot backstage where Jackie is going to ask Rollins for his thoughts, but McIntyre is marching towards him from the background like he's the monster from It Follows. Sami jumped Drew before we could see what he wanted to do to Seth. Maybe he was just going to offer his help against Punk in the upcoming match, meaning the Zayn vs McIntyre feud will continue for now. Bron Breakker defended his Intercontinental title against Ludwig Kaiser in a really decent long match, with Kaiser smartly working over Breakker's left armor. Bron damaged himself more though with a flying lariat off the apron over the commentary table, but thanks to a top rope Frankensteiner, a charge around the ring and a spear inside it, Breakker retained. Man, Bron has such a cool moveset. I mean, Bron's got such a cool collection of moves. There was a recap of Kevin Owens taking out Cody Rhodes with the package piledriver after Saturday night's main event went off air, meaning we got to see the actual move and attack after WWE banned the previous Bad Blood angle, but we didn't get to see any of the Triple H involvement where he shoved KO. Cody's selling of that piledriver was so good, with him being totally still and his fingers curling by his side from the nerve damage. The shots of him being stretchered into an ambulance really got over the serious realism of this feud and how it doesn't feel like anything else in WWE. Which is why it was quite the tonal shift when WWE came back from that video package and Joe Tessitore announced social media shares of that footage have done more than 45 million views. Wow! Neck injuries! In far better subtle storytelling, the New Day went to the locker room backstage when Rey Mysterio stopped them from entering and told them it's best if they find somewhere else to change after what they did to Big E. WWE and the New Day are doing such a good job of making their actions feel so much worse than anything else in the company. Kind of even worse than Kevin Owens trying to break Cody's neck, because look how many views that has on social media by showing everyone's disapproval of them backstage. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez and Dominic Mysterio got an in-ring promo segment where Liv was talking about how great her 2024 has been when she was interrupted by, you guessed it, Rhea Ripley. Ripley said this has gone on long enough, you're telling me. So it's time they made it official. Pearce has made her the women's title's #1 contender, and then she called Dom Liv's little chicken tender slut. Hopefully this ends soon. Miz tried to move on from the Final Testament backstage, pointing out how they've beaten the Wyatts now. Hooray! Job done. But Karrion Kross said it's not over until he says it's over, as he's consumed by vengeance for what they did to Scarlett. So Miz will have a match against Dexter Lumis next week. Now that Paul Ellering is back with them, this faction has way too many managers. About 1 hour and 15 minutes into the show, we then got a second match. Zoe Stark beat Raquel Rodriguez and Kaden Carter in a Women's Intercontinental Championship quarter-final match, which makes sense so she can fight Dakota Kai as part of the Damage Control versus Perfect Fried Chicken feud in the semis. Stark pinned Carter to protect Raquel. Stark celebrated by slamming Kairi Sane's hand in a production crate backstage afterwards, potentially meaning the tournament will need a replacement for one remaining quarter-final. Triple H realized he might be drafting American-made to SmackDown. Quick, better finish that American Alpha feud they dropped back in August. Chad Gable confronted Otis backstage, saying they'll start with Akira Tozawa. Hopefully, this is building to the Gable versus Otis match we should have had 4 months ago. A mysterious red circle graphic played with a red line drawn through it, which could be teasing the recently released AEW wrestler Penta and his catchphrase, Zero Miedo, or Zero Fear, as the circle could be a zero with a line being drawn through it. So not zero, and his WWE gimmick is going to be Some Fear Pentagon Jr. And the main event was the Judgment Day finally defending their Raw tag titles against the War Raiders. Ivar was super over in his hometown throughout, and because the rest of Judgment Day were banned from ringside, Finn had to take cheating into his own hands by going to grab a chair from the outside. But the Judgment Day ban doesn't extend to former members, as Damian Priest appeared to stop him from using the chair, letting the War Raiders hit their finish on Finn Balor to become the new tag team champions. That was a good ending, and with Rhea versus Liv soon, we will hopefully be moving on from Judgment Day's stranglehold over all Raw's main divisions. This week's Raw is 77%. Now please go and watch and support our movie channel Cutscene, which has a brand new video out on the Mickey Mouse movie Disney Don't Want You to See, the crazy story of the runaway brain. Here's a clip.
The shift between the 1980s and the 1990s cannot be understated. The shiny veneer of the previous decade had been replaced with a grungy outlook, and counterculture was prevalent in all forms of entertainment. Cartoons were no longer just reserved for Disney afternoons, as MTV was seeing great success amongst teen audiences and Gen Xers with Beavis and Butthead. Nickelodeon was airing gross-out toon Ren and Stimpy, and Fox were gaining the ire of parents and even politicians with The Simpsons and the rise of Bartmania.
I love Ren and Stimpy. I love the idea of Ren and Stimpy, maybe actually more than the cartoons. I definitely have some favorites. You know, Stimpy's invention is a favorite. There's some moments, and there's one with Mr. Horace. He's like, how do you know I'm not from the FBI? I don't know, it was so weird. So I loved that it was getting made. I loved that it was getting popular. But I'd say Ren and Stimpy, big fan. Love Simpsons. Not so much for the animation, but because it was contemporary, and I just, at that time, people thought animation was, just for kids, and when Disney made a movie, they were like, oh, isn't that nice? Yeah, someone must be interested in that somewhere.